Hi y'all. So today we're going to be talking about my end of the year kind of TBR. So basically I decided to divide this TBR up by like big hardback fantasy novels that I need to get to. And then I picked some nonfiction, some like contemporary romance, and then some pocketbook size, like mass market paperback size books that are maybe not shorter necessarily, but a little bit like easier to take on the go, so they're condensed a little more. I don't know, but I tend to fly through those a little quicker than like hardbacks or full-size paperbacks. So I just kind of divided it up like that. This is probably very ambitious. It's a lot of books. I started out going, oh, well, I'll pick 10. And then I picked probably, I don't know, 20. So we'll see if I get to all of these. But anyways, these are ones I would really like to get to by the end of the year. I don't really do seasonal TBRs. I'm not really a seasonal mood reader type of person, but I do kind of try to have some structure to what I read because otherwise I will never get through everything that I own. So let's just jump right in. So the first book is actually the one I'm reading right now, and I'm very late to the game with this book. I know, before you come for me, but it is An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir, and I am about 200 pages into this book at this point, and it's starting to get really good. So I've been plowing through it at this point. I think the last 100 pages that I read in like a big binge session over the weekend. So anyways, that's what I need to get to. Obviously, I need to finish that one. Then I have Middle Game by Seanan McGuire. And all I really know about this book is that it's supposedly about people trying to become gods or godhood in some way. I've had this on my TBR for quite some time, so I'm really excited to get to this. It's probably going to be a very good like October spooky kind of read. So excited to read this one. And next up I have The Black Prism by Brent Weeks. And this book I'm actually planning on taking with me when I have 7 days of vacation in the end of October. I'm going out of town, so yeah, this will be perfect. It's nice and long. I can just take one gigantic book with me and my Kindle in case I get through this one before the end of my vacation. That way I can pack light. And this one takes place in a fantasy setting where the magic has to do with light and like the spectrum of light. And I own the first and second book in this series. I just have not gotten to them yet. But I hear really good things, so I'm excited to start this one. I definitely needed to get to this before the end of the year. And another good, potentially spooky read that I have on my TBR for the end of the year is Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir, I think is the name. I'm not sure. I might have butchered it. Sorry. And this is about necromancers, and let me just read you the blurb here on the back. A solar system of swordplay, cutthroat politics, and lesbian necromancers. I'm here for it. Are you? And another that is a YA fantasy novel that is a sequel. I've read the first book last year, I think, and I really liked it, but I'm going to need a refresher before I read the second book. And the second book is a little bit shorter, it seems. But anyways, that is Children of Virtue and Vengeance by Tomi Adeyemi. And if you haven't read Children of Blood and Bone, I highly recommend you do that. Oh, it is outstanding. Let's see. So the next two books I have are actually part of a series that I think is a trilogy. The third and last book just came out, and I've heard really great things about this series, but still just haven't picked the first one up. So I'm like, you know what? The end of the year, I'm gonna have read not just the first, but the first and the second. If they're that good, I'm gonna want to go right into the second from the first book. And that would be The City of Brass and Kingdom of Copper. And the next book, I read the first book earlier this year, and honestly, it is probably the one of, maybe not the best, but one of the best books I've read this year. And everybody right now on BookTube is like freaking out about this book. So I have the sequel already. I pre-ordered it, I think. That is Shorefall by Robert Jackson Bennett. Foundry Side, please read it. I get some people might not like it, and that's okay. I really love this story. Like, probably one of my all-time favorite books at this point. Like, oh my god. 5 out of 5 stars. The best book I have read this year. So I am very freaking excited to read the sequel. The next book that I'm going to try to get to by the end of the year is The Last Magician. Wow, can't talk today. The Last Magician by Lisa Maxwell. So this has been out for a long time, and honestly, I've owned it probably about as long as it's been out, and I've never gotten to it. So for some of these, I tried to pick books that have been on my shelf for a long time, that I have refused to unhaul because I really actually do want to read them. I just tend to, so I have this problem where I get really hyped about new releases, and then I read them right when they come out, instead of reading the books that I've had for freaking years. So that happens every once in a while, and then this happens. So, anyways, I'm going to read this by the end of the year. I promise. No promises. Okay, so now we're going to get into some of the nonfiction books that I have that I really want to read. I think I bought these either earlier this year or late last year, so whatever. I've had them a little while. I kind of went on a little bit of a nonfiction kick at one point. Bought a bunch of books that I was like, these sound freaking awesome, and then never picked them up. So I want to get to them. I think, yes, so it's just 2 nonfiction books, I think. Let me make sure. Yeah. 2 nonfiction books. 2 nonfiction books. Both are animal / dog related. If you don't know me at all, I mean, I know some of my friends and stuff might watch these videos, but like, strangers, hello. I work with animals, worked with animals for a long time now, and I volunteer, so especially dogs. Dogs are near and dear to my heart. I love them so fucking much. I have a special needs dog, so maybe you'll see him sometime in a future video, but not today, because he's laying here being a really good boy and being quiet for once. So, anyways, the one book, well, 2 books, one of the books that I want to read that's nonfiction and dog related is The Lost Dogs. And this is actually about the dogs that were rescued from Michael Vick. And as a native Virginian, this story, it's very common in rescue. And, you know, as a volunteer in rescue for 4 going on 5 years now, story, I've got to read it. It's about their rescue and their redemption. So I'm assuming this is after they were fostered and adopted out. This is like a follow-up with the dogs, which I think is really freaking cool. I hope it doesn't have too much focus on like the case necessarily, because I don't know if I'm here for that. It looks like there's some pictures in it, which is just really freaking cute. I'm here for it. I'm really excited to read that. I picked that up on a whim because I was actually at the store looking for the next one that I'm about to show you, and it was in the same section, and I was like, I have to have this. And I have a couple other dog-related books, but I'm saving them for now. I'm not going to read them all at once. Anyways, the one that I was searching for when I found the Michael Vick book is My Life Among the Underdogs by Tia Torres. And this is the lady who founded and helps run, obviously she's not the only person, but helps run the Pit Bulls and Parolees thing. I think they're in Louisiana now. And this is a pretty short book, but guaranteed one of the few shows that I can watch that will make me cry every single fucking episode. So I'm anticipating this book is gonna make me cry, probably. So there's those two. They both might make me cry, to be honest. Anyways, okay, getting on to some easier, like as in shorter or contemporary romance books. I always have to throw a couple in because otherwise I will burn out on all of this fantasy and hit a reading slump. And I'm going to be completely honest. I've already been in a reading slump for the last 2 months. I've read 2 books in the last 2 months and a bunch of comics. So I'm trying to get out of that. I can't be in a slump if I'm going to read 20 books by the end of the year. Anyways, one of the ones I want to get to by the end of the year is The Beginning Place by Ursula Le Guin. And I've read, I think, well, I've been working my way back through the Earthsea series because it's the very first series I read, like fantasy series I read as a kid that, I don't know, it just is really special to me. So it's basically what got me into fantasy. And a little bit of science fiction. And I love her writing. Like, she's so, like, nostalgic. Ursula Le Guin is nostalgic for me. And the next 2 that I have are contemporary romances. Like I said, I have a couple of them on here. And that is Well Met and You Deserve Each Other. So, in case you can't tell, I'm a sucker for the the covers that look like this. They're like illustrated. And I actually am a really big sucker for a hate to love trope. Sorry to disappoint. I do like some tropes. So this one in particular, I feel like I'm gonna fly through this because if it has that, oof, oh my god, I'll just read it super fast. And this one, I think it takes place at a Renaissance festival. And I had to miss Ren Fair, like a lot of people this year because of COVID. So excited to live vicariously through that book. 2, 3. Okay, so I have 6 more, and they're the little tiny mass market paperbacks. Like I said, these might not necessarily be short books. They're, I think, typically around 300 pages or so, between 300 and 400, if not shorter. These are easy for me to read because I literally take them like in my bag anywhere I go and I just breeze through them. I don't know what it is about them, but I read them really fast. So, and some of these when I worked at the bookstore, which I don't anymore. If you've seen my previous videos, I don't work at the bookstore anymore. I left after I graduated. But anyways, I've heard some people hate this book and some people like love it, you know, so we'll see. The first one is Prince of Thorns by Mark Lawrence, grimdark. And the next one is Moon Called by Patricia Briggs. And I think this is more like urban fantasy, like werewolves, shapeshifters. Not something I've read, frankly, any of. And I'm like, vampires are not really my thing either. So we'll see. That's the one I'm kind of the most hesitant about, especially I think it's an older series. Like, it started quite a bit of ways back at this point. So we'll see. Anyways, I've got definitely an old series and a big fucking series, but I'm excited, tentatively. I've never read anything by this author. He's pretty big in fantasy, like mostly well known for the Forgotten Realms series, that's what this is. It's the first book in the Forgotten Realms series, Homeland. If you don't know anything about this, it's basically D&D in a novel. And I am pretty big into D&D, so we'll see. I've heard good things from people who like are, you know, similar to me, like do D&D. They really like it. That they really like the series. One of my friends in our campaign group, this is like his favorite fucking series of all time. He recommended it to me, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna buy the first 3 books. I got store credit. We're gonna give it a try. And for those of you wondering, I play a Circle of the Shepherd Druid. I feel like that would be, you know, obvious. Anyways, the next one I have is Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. No, I have not read this. The only ones I have read are Mistborn, Way of Kings, and Words of Radiance. And honestly, I was not the biggest fan of Sanderson until I read Words of Radiance, and now I'm like, I would die for these characters. Okay? And anyways, people have said Warbreaker is like chef's kiss great. And it's, again, yeah, this one's a little long. This is like almost 700 pages. Battery's dying again. Gotta hurry up. Alright, the next one is The Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. I've heard really great things about this. It's a trilogy. I think it's like a coming of age almost, like quest type fantasy. Again, bought it on steep discount, all 3 of them, so we're gonna give it a shot. I'm gonna start it. We're gonna see. And the last one I have that I'd like to read before the end of the year is a recent buy for me, and that's Age of Myth by Michael J. Sullivan. Again, another pretty lengthy. I have no idea what this is about. I've just been recommended it, and I picked it up. So that's where we're at. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video.